Hi everybody, Louise Eddington, Cosmic Owl, Cosmic Owl Astrology, and I want to do a quick video for you today to talk about Mercury going through Aquarius. It's a whistle-stop journey through Aquarius because Mercury is moving fast at the moment. And Mercury in Aquarius is a bit like the mad scientist. It's very erratic, very out of the box thinking, but it can connect big dots. But there's going to be information overload through this journey. It's going to be pretty wild because it's so fast and because of all the other things we have going on with the moon going very out of bounds twice a month. So that's part of the journey because we're at lunar maximum and because of all the big change going on in the world. Ironically, the